Hello, my name is Matt. I just want to introduce myself, and I also want to introduce my wife, Brittany. Say hello, Brittany.
Hello.
Uh, as you read in the description, is I've been diagnosed terminally ill, and I guess this is kind of my story. So I want to take this first episode and let you know kind of who I am and begin the process of catching everybody up. To start off is I'm a 46-year-old young man, for the most part healthy. I've been physically active and in the construction industry for a long time throughout a professional career. Throughout this year, um, I started to notice and I just started getting sluggish and not being able to complete my duties and stuff. I kind of chalked it up to uh, my age, thinking maybe low testosterone or whatever else, and just wasn't kind of bouncing back. And at the first of the year, started getting a lot of dental pain and stuff, so I made my way to the dentist and I had some dental work done on the right side of my mouth. And during that time, I noticed a lump had formed along my jawline in my beard, and we thought it was just an infection because it was right along with where the pain was coming from my dental work. Uh, so we thought one of the lymph nodes had been severely infected, which can they were saying that can take months for the swelling to go down, and in some cases the swelling never does go down. So anyway, yeah, I had a dental surgery.
Well,
It kind of felt.
antibiotic. They put
Yeah,
you.
they started me on antibiotics, and it seemed like it got about like 50% better at the time. And I came back for a follow-up with the dentist, and he's like, "How you doing?" And he ordered a tooth extraction, and that's right where kind of like the swelling was. So I
And
went and had this tooth extraction. I was on antibiotics. Things seemed to get better, like I said, about 50%. I came back to have a crown, some other work done with the dentist, and we kept going. He gave me another prescription to the antibiotics because yes, it made me feel better, but it was also the tumor was growing. The swelling was growing. It was getting more uncomfortable. So we started the next process. At which time the dentist was also like, "Hey, this may not be dental." And
yeah, they were doing trial and error. So with
yeah,
the cracked tooth, he's like, "Oh, this tooth is cracked. It can't be repaired. Maybe that's causing you severe pain." And then they were like, "No, maybe this old root canal is infected. Let's
yeah,
redo
there was
that. Oh, maybe it's this crown." Like they were just
a
shooting.
lot of it was like the damage that we were fixing didn't match the pain I was describing. And so after my first surgery, the tooth extraction, I went to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, a local near ear, nose, and throat doctor. Cost me $300. He came in with a couple different nurses. He was in there for less than 3 minutes. Um, he, looking back, I know what he was doing. He was checking my thyroid. He noticed the lump and kind of, made note, and he's like, "Yeah, it is kind of, a swollen nodule." And he kind of felt down through my throat and looked in, my mouth, and he goes, "Well, it's not cancer." He goes, "Don't worry about that." He goes, "It's go and get the rest of your dental work done."
Wrote you a larger antibiotic
Yeah, he says,
prescription.
"Let's give you some stronger antibiotics. These nodules, a lot often when you don't take care of your teeth," and gave me a lecture on dental care and infection and how dangerous it can be, and gave me a larger script. So I felt good at that point. I was like, "Cool, it's not cancer." So at which point, went back to the dentist, and I was it's not like I was feeling good by any means. I was spending every dollar that we had. I was starting to max out credit cards and whatever cash that we were making, whatever Brittany was coming in to pay for these things.
Well, we weren't insured at the time,
Yeah, we
and
were
we
paying
were
cash.
trying to keep up. We didn't want to get behind.
And what I was feeling, it was devil's fire. I said it on a couple different occasions that if I don't figure out what this is, it's got potential to kill me. Um, yeah, so things progressed, things got, progressively worse. I went off to if we do something like this and stuff, but uh went back to the dentist, ended up having two more pretty gnarly back-to-back dental surgeries. No pain medication because recovering alcoholic, I was on, after five back surgeries, I took several, I was on opiates for 7, 8 years, and I quit them several years ago and went to natural herbal pain relievers. So I didn't want to get back on. Not that my dentist offered me any or anything like that, but just I went through three dental surgeries. I was in a lot of pain, is what I'm getting at, and really, really uncomfortable. And I was really starting to lag at work. This was starting to be April, May. I wasn't in my job. I was a pool refinisher and stuff, and I just a lot of physical obligations are on my shoulders, and I was happened to drop the ball on a lot of that. And although my company was very understanding and supportive, still I wasn't able to be able to keep up to what I knew I was capable of doing. I knew whatever it was starting to wipe me out. It felt like I was starting to have a heart attacks, like I was sucking in a rock. My heart would start beating, and it was like trying to suck something in, and I knew if it sucked in that it was just gonna stop. It was just gonna, I knew it.
You were coming home from work saying it felt like it was wrapped around your throat, and like it had a hold on your throat, and that it was connected to your heart.
And yeah, and I felt sick. I just wasn't able to like recoup. I'd come home on the weekends, even if I didn't get out of bed all weekend. I I didn't feel any better come Monday morning. So it just I became like a walking zombie. So after the third dental surgery, I had a root canal on a tooth that didn't even need it. It was kind of last ditch effort. I still need to get a crown put on it, but at which point the doctor was like, "Look, this is literally the last thing we can do. We need to basically we need to see a different type of doctor." And I've already seen an ear, nose, and throat doctor. So I just Googled a general family practitioner here in the southern Utah and made an appointment with Joe Schmo and went in and kind of caught him up, told him the same story as what I said now. I was like, look, I've been on antibiotics for a good, what, 3 months at this point. And the antibiotics alone were starting to I knew just wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling good at all. Looking back, I was on pretty much a all fruit diet and nicotine.
And other than that, you didn't really have any symptoms other than in December of 2023 when you got really sick, bedridden, sweats,
Yeah.
mental purging. That was really the only
I
symptom you had. But
Well,
You,
looking back, knowing what we know now, the sugar cravings,
yeah.
me not wanting to eat, it was signs of my liver shutting down, it was signs of my kidneys shutting down,
Hmm.
it was signs of the cancer was the only thing that was feeding anymore. But we didn't know that, and like I said, we had already been to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and kind of quote unquote, it's not cancer. But I knew I was sick, and I knew antibiotics wasn't cutting it, and dental work, I was out of money, and I couldn't. There was no more surgeries, and I couldn't handle another dental surgery.
And the lump was getting
Yeah, and the
larger.
lump was at this point, it was difficult to start talking. It felt like it was strangling me. I had really started feeling some burning down in my right lung. And like I said, it felt like I was trying to suck something in through my heart. So, yeah, I made an appointment with just a family practitioner, a nice young man, young doctor, coming promising future. And went in there, caught him up on the story. He goes, "Well, we're gonna have to do a CAT scan." Okay, let's order a CAT scan. A few days went by. Got the CAT scan, and you know,
He called and
they
said,
they called the next day pretty much and said it's inconclusive. It's not infection. It's a tumor. So
yeah, they said it's not infection, it looks like a lump.
yeah,
They didn't call it a tumor
yeah,
at
they
that
didn't call it
point yet.
tumor, but it was
A lump.
a lump. It was at that time a tumor, an abnormal growth.
Yeah.
But basically, go ahead and stop the antibiotics. There's no point on antibiotics at any point. And I think I had started maybe some tramadols at that point because I was in a lot of pain and almost, I was kind of just saying, pardon my language, but fuck it. I was to the point to where I was really in a lot of pain. But
And I think we had started colloidal silver.
no, when on June 20th is when we found out it was a lump. I remember getting the phone call at work, and at that day, I remember that's the last day I was in my career. Uh,
But they called us in for a biopsy.
yeah, he called me. The nurse called me and said, it's a tumor, and we want to go ahead and schedule you for a biopsy. Is that okay? Yeah, go ahead. I believe I had a heart attack that day. When I was at work, I remember kind of walking around. I remember kind of just hitting my knees on the grass and literally falling on my face for just a few seconds and gasping for my breath and just feeling like my heart was just like it was just dead, and they had called me and said it was a tumor, and I had finished up my stuff. I had gone into kind of a mental thing. Instantly started to, I guess, quit smoking. Um, that's when my brain started to turn. And you start thinking, what ifs, what is, what ifs. So anyway, yeah, we went over for the biopsy, and they got me into the biopsy fairly quick. They were actually able to move me up or whatever, and I remember getting back in there.
And the doctor and the nurse or
The
whoever
nurse,
was
the,
doing
the
it was like,
nurse, yeah,
this
the
doesn't
nurse,
look bad
yeah, the
or
nurse came
something.
in and she was really cool and had a really good bedside manner, and
You
but
don't have anything to worry about.
she almost started crying and she's like, "You're gonna have to shave your beard." And I'm like, "That's okay. I fully expected that or whatever else." I actually had brought some clippers. Brittany had them in her out there in the waiting room, and I was like, "My wife brought some." She goes, "No, we have some here." But yeah, you're gonna have to lose the beard. And she was almost teary-eyed. I had a substantial beard at the time, but I was fully ready to find out what this was. So I was a sense of excitement. So the beard came off relatively quick, but I do remember when I got it halfway off that there was no turning back. And I do remember I remember wondering if I'm ever gonna have a beard again. So, there was and still is a kind of a moment of there was a moment of letting go, the first part of letting go of the old that day. And I guess I didn't really realize how much of effect that it had on me till now. But I got out, and I was in good spirits. And yeah, we got the biopsy done. And so uh in the meantime, yeah, he took like 3, 4 samples. It's kind of like a dart that goes in there and takes a chunk like an ice cream scoop and it pulls it out. And then he puts the chunk inside a container and he took 4 or 5 of those and it kind of felt good because it drained the tumor, it shrunk the tumor, or just I
Yeah,
guess he
you
took it.
said it felt like it relieved a little bit of the pressure.
And it was just, I felt a release off my dental pain. I felt release off of like the burning. Man, it was a devil's venom fire. The cancer that it's a burn like nobody else. So they were really confident thinking that it wasn't quote unquote cancer. And they were, reassuring, hey, I don't think it's this. But I was kind of also at the point like, then what is it? And what can I take to get rid of it? What needs to happen? Do we need to have it it's just whatever. Do we need to have it surgically removed? But anyway, um, yeah, pretty much the next day, 2 days later, we got back in. They called us back into the doctor's office. They called us in at the very last. We were the very last to be seen. It wasn't really an appointment, but it was. We paid the deposit. Yeah, we paid like 50, $60. Uh, and this was
Interesting.
yeah,
An
this was
interesting
this was kind of
appointment.
like a cartoon to me for a second. This was kind of like a fairy tale. We got in there, and he first comes in, and he was like, "Hey, we don't really have anything to tell you."
He walks in and he says, "Good news. It's
And,
not leukemia and
which,
it's not lymphoma."
yeah, and we're like, "Sweet, like
Mm,
it's not cancer." And then he sits down and
Starts to try and read this.
tries to start reading the report, which is highly aggressive magnetosis.
Our adrenaline
Uh,
carcinoma. We're just starting to hear words like this.
yeah, big, huge, a mixture of this. We're not sure of this. And Brittany kind of looks over at me, and I'm looking over at her, and she goes, "It sounds like cancer."
I said, "So is it cancer?"
And he shook his head, yes, but quote out of his mouth, "I don't like to say the C word." And he continued to read the report. And the report does not say a C word. C word is the layman terms of everything that's going on. But yeah, to this day he never did say the C word.
He
I kind of smiled at that point. It was a sense of like, are you first off, he comes in there and he's like, hey, it's not cancer. And then he flips us completely upside down and
he won't say
it's
it's
not that it's
cancer.
cancer, it's that it's coming up as like two or three different types of cancer.
But we've never heard these words. I mean, we've heard these words, right? Like I had heard carcinoma, I had heard highly, some of the terms
Aggressive.
that he's using, but I didn't know where or what,
Yeah.
they were in conjunction with, and he didn't even seem to know. He
No.
was saying, this is out of my field, as
Yeah.
he continues
So
to
it's
try and
and the
pronounce
last yeah,
these
the
words.
last kind of sentence at the I was kind of just kind of laughing. It reminded me of the movie The Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers. There's a scene in there where they're trying to find their dog and get their dog Nimmons back from whatever, uh, one of the Baldwin brothers. But the guy comes up and the guy's like, "Here, hold my dog." And he's like, "I don't like to say dog. I like to say canine American." This is just the way he said. He's like, "I don't like to say cancer." He doesn't like to say the C word. But anyway,
So that's what we were left with going into the weekend.
so then it
Oh, he
was,
says, I'm going to refer you to an oncologist. And I say,
and
what's that? And that's when he says, a cancer doctor. So I'm like,
and they
so it
ordered
is
and they
cancer.
ordered the biopsy also. The last paragraph said, this more likely isn't the origin. This is a spot. It originated from someplace else. And we had a CT scan of my jaw and my neck right there. So they ordered a upper torso scan at that point
And sent us off to the
and set
oncologist.
us off to the oncologist, which
That's where we'll
this
pick up.
this is where stuff gets really kind of fun. Yeah, that's
That's the beginning.
that's us hearing that it's not
Yeah.
cancer.
We're going to
So
title this, It's Not
it's
Cancer.
not cancer.
But we're sending you to an
But
oncologist.
here's an oncologist. We think it's two different types. We think you're super special.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Thanks, Doc.
Oh, and we started pain medication at this time. We got to
No,
document that.
he
Yeah.
did?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
was
when he
like,
started tramadol.
I had to deal with
Yeah.
something and I knew, yeah,
Yeah.
that.
So,
There we go. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Episode 1 in the books. Stay tuned. I'm gonna work on some stuff. We're gonna clean some stuff up. We're gonna get it out to you as soon as we can. Bear with me. Like I said, it's terminal. I'm doing the best I can. Uh, ADHD is a problem. Short-term memory is a problem. But love you guys. Hang in there. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.